Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Listen to those laser beams. Musical laser beams! How awesome they are. I am Charlie the Professor Esser, your host here on Superconnectivity, and with me, as always, is the man behind the curtain, the man who makes it all possible, the blue-eyed bomber from the Burger Pits,
Phil Podcast Perich.
Oh, Phil, I'm so glad you're here to podcast with us all once again.
Great to be here.
Philip. So much going on in the world today. So much to, we had a plan. We had a plan to discuss the new Thunderbolts.
To do speculation because they had him in all just the silhouettes. Yeah,
they had him in silhouette, and it's like, how do you do silhouette? And the next again, and here's who it is. It's like Marvel. Let the fuse burn. Because I'll be honest with you, it was cool, but it was also like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like some of that team, I was just like, oh, okay.
I mean, and here's what I'll say. So, two cool things. We were absolutely right that one of them was going to be Monica Rambeau.
Yes.
I was totally off in thinking the person with the gun at his... Wait, actually, does he have a gun at his side, or is that his quiver?
It looks like something with the holster on his hip. Yeah, and it's Clint Barton, yeah.
Well, maybe he's... Well, I mean,
unless he has more weapons on him than just like a bow and arrow, maybe.
Yeah, let me just expand this out a bit. Oh man, they don't let you pull that out to expand.
Well, if you click on the link, wait. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, making it hard. Because you'll see, and that's one of the things. Like when you look at the alternate covers, one of the alternate covers is a U.S. agent with the Hawkeye face painted over it. So what's going on with that? I don't know.
So I wonder if it's like, is our Fisk's Thunderbolts going to be gone by the end of Devil's Reign, or are we going to get two teams of Thunderbolts?
Well, maybe, we had theorized that Walker could be a plant in the Thunderbolts expressly to grant legitimacy and then no, technically the Thunderbolts are a federal agency, not a local police force, sir. Mm-hmm. So actually, technically, the Thunderbolts are under Hawkeye's jurisdiction as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that could be what they're dealing with here, and maybe, who knows, maybe the John Walker we've seen has been Hawkeye the whole time. Because we do know that all superheroes look alike if they're blonde.
Yeah.
They all look alike. Remember when... Yeah, it all happens, man. It all works out.
Have we seen John Walker do any feats of like super strength since Devil's Reign started?
No, not more than we've seen him do in general. That's the thing. It's like even for through most of his career, he's mostly just been an amped up super soldier. Mm-hmm. Nothing outside of what Hawkeye could do his own way.
That could make sense because I don't think we've seen Hawkeye anywhere else in Devil's Reign. So
yeah, so maybe that was his brilliant idea. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do my best John Walker impression, and no one even likes the guy. And for what it's worth, it would absolutely explain why he's barging in. Say, hey, you forgot me. You forgot me, Wilson. You good old buddy John Walker.
I can see Hawkeye doing that, strolling in, be like, "Yeah, you need me, Fisk."
And just like, oh man, that voice is hard on my throat. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's what we're doing. Now, it's also interesting who we get on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Because in addition to Monica Rambeau, who is just like a powerhouse in general, although I guess they've moved her back, although she is going to tie into our further deep dive this episode.
Yeah.
She started the Beyonders as well. And it's all connected, Philip. I got red yarn all around my apartment right now.
Mm-hmm.
We got America Chavez, who is in a movie.
We're going
And, I like America Chavez, but there are times where I feel like she is just a character no one quite knows what to do with. Because she has, like, a lot of power, but it's like her power to punch holes in space-time, like, what it does is somewhat vague. It's like she's got your standard strength and flight and all this stuff, but then she can also punch holes in space-time with star portals.
And I don't know, just some of the
But
stories.
does she just drive the van? That's the question. Is really her power mostly just to drive the van?
And sometimes in some stories I've read, I haven't been interested because it seems like sometimes they just like give her an attitude just to give her an attitude. She always has to be the contrarian a lot of the times, and I'm just like,
Yeah. But here's who's interesting in this group: Persuasion, who, if I recall correctly, is actually the original Purple Girl. The original daughter of Kilgrave, who had his powers. Because that was like the first person that Kilgrave actually fell in love with and intentionally had a child with. And then he's just like, he released her from his power for a moment, and she was reasonably horrified and ran away. And so the idea that Hawkeye, pretending to be John Walker, perhaps with the assistance of Persuasion to help sell his act, has actually come into this universe with the idea that, this is how they're going to take down Fisk, by using the original Purple Girl to countermand his little purple cane power.
Or they use her during Devil's Reign to override like Kilgrave's powers and stuff, and at the end, Hawkeye's just like, hey,
Well, Kilgrave isn't even enjoying himself right now. He's basically a prisoner again.
Oh yeah, because isn't Fisk?
They cut off his freaking thumb, Phil.
Oh yeah, no, he's stuck in that tube. I know, but I'm just saying Fisk is using that power, so maybe that's how they like kind of override that power.
Yeah, but it is literally just the fact that clearly Kilgrave would really rather not be here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I would rather be in prison behind a glass door where they feed me 3 meals a day and I get to watch TV than have to deal with this nonsense.
I just wonder if someone's going to kill Purple Man just because, someone's going to be like, all the crap you've caused over the years between Jessica Jones and every other.
They've killed him enough times already. At a certain point, you get this point where you're like, should we even bother killing these people at this point? Because it's probable that they're just going to come back.
You know what? I was thinking about that. Was like yesterday. I was like, anytime a major character gets killed off, or even a minor character, it doesn't have the same punch anymore. Because you're just like, oh yeah, they'll be back in a few years when another writer wants to do something with them.
Yeah, well, they'll bring them back. They'll bring their kid back. They'll do something.
Yeah.
Or they'll just do this whole, oh yeah, that's right, demons and the spirit world is real. And if freaking Mephisto says, what would be really cool right now is if like Kilgrave was out messing with people's minds. That's always good for a laugh.
Or remember the big one, Charlie, for the last decade or so. They could always be a Skrull that got killed.
Because they can duplicate superpowers now.
Exactly. Oh yeah, did you see they're doing another Secret Invasion, I guess, because we're getting that series on Disney Plus eventually.
I'm still curious about that because I still think that the Secret Invasion is actually going to be the Kree, not the Skrulls. Now, the Skrulls don't want to do it, but I just think that basically I think the Skrulls are at a disadvantage in the fact that the S.H.I.E.L.D. already knows about them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, one incidents with the Skrulls have them talking about Kree sleeper cells. And for what it's worth, they already, even if you're not going to do Pink Kree, although they have done Pink Kree, they can also still have image inducers or things that make them look more human when blue skinned Kree show up on Earth. So it's always possible we're going to get more, and I get the feeling that the idea of Kree that just show up and for what it's worth, human computers are easy enough to fake. All you have to do is just create digital records now. Like back when you had to have physical records, it was a little harder. You had to sneak into a place and put in a birth certificate. Now it's just like, yeah, beep, beep, beep. There you go. There's a birth certificate. Here's your social security number.
Oh yeah, because I was waiting for Skrulls this week, and was that Amazing Spider-Man issue with the slingers? Because didn't someone mention they're like, oh yeah, it's like near this farm where there was a thing with the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and that was an interesting aspect because it was Skrull cows.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something else, and again, tying to the Fantastic Four and the Beyonders, because again, this is. I don't want to get too deep into this yet because I do want to, because there's so much. So, okay, well, I guess let's get into it. The Beyonder, Phil.
Yes.
Have you met of him? Have you heard of him? He's kind of a big deal. He is going to be the main antagonist in the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur series coming to Disney Plus. And they had him in. They've had him in a few cartoon interpretations.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes mixing him with the Stranger. And it's interesting because, of course, one version of the Beyonder we've seen has been the Stranger. But we get, every time we break down these stories, it always gets interesting. And the fact that his official canonical origin is that the Beyonder became aware of the universe when the Molecule Man gained his nigh omnipotent powers.
Yes.
And the fact that the Beyonder and the Molecule Man, again, are these co-linked beings, especially across the universes, which was the whole thing of, this is my fan theory. No one buys it, but I will die on this nerd hill. That essentially during the Beyonder Wars, during the incursions, when all of the universes were collapsing, because the Beyonders were testing universes just to see how they could be destroyed. You have at that same time Beyonders that are clearly very alien Beyonders, but that still sometimes had weird shoulder pads. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. And here's like where it gets weird is that then again, we also had, not too long ago, Pure Porker across the Hamaverse series, where there was a watch powered by the Beyonder.
Yes.
Which goes to show that, yes, in every universe there is a Beyonder. Because the Beyonders are what is beyond this universe. And they are always looking in. And they are always, always looking in. Because they don't exist within time and space. They exist beyond time and space. So all the energy of creation is just outside of the fictional Marvel universe. And they are just always there. So, and I think this ties into something that we saw in Reckoning War #1.
Oh.
Because they make a specific point about Nornrad being the last survivor and the one who brought the universe back. And there seems to be this implication like, yeah, you have that thing that you brought the universe back with still, right? Now, what he brought the universe back with, if you recall, was a cosmic cube. The Shaper of Worlds, but also the idea that the Shaper of Worlds are also what the Beyonders fill as Beyonders evolve into greater things, which meanwhile over in the Marvel's book we once again have the Vision, who the last time we saw him was talking about, oh yeah, my species' whole purpose is to help cosmic cubes evolve into higher beings. It's weird, and like, there's a point in your life when you read these comic books where you're like, there's a lot of people talking here. How are they all talking kind of in the same direction? There are clearly good editors who are saying, oh, here's a plot line that you need to know. By the way, if you ever tell this to anyone, we will sue you and bankrupt you and kill your children. Don't mess with us. We're Disney. It's like there is clearly something going on where people are always talking about it. And then again in Secret X-Men, we have Boom Boom back, my favorite mutant, who was actually Time Bomb is her name, but it's sort of like poor old Boulder. Everyone just called him Butterball. At a certain point, he just said, F it, I'm just going to be Butterball. Fine, I'm not going to fight it at this point. If that is your intellectual level for a person with Omega level powers who cannot be destroyed, fine, I will be Butterball if that makes you happy. And I think Boom Boom was like, everyone called her Boom Boom because she was like, hot, sexy gal. Till her dad beat her up because he didn't like the fact that she was a mutant. Man, what is wrong with these parents and just like trying to beat up their mutant children? It's like, in what universe does that work? In one universe, you beat your child and now they kill you with their mutant powers.
Exactly.
In another universe, you just beat your child for no reason. Like, mutant hatred is weird.
Yeah, it is weird because it's like they get hated on more than people who get powers later in life by accident. It's like, well, in the end, they all have powers either way.
Well, to be fair, when people get their powers later in life, it's usually due to an accident or something.
Yes.
And you're always more sympathetic to people with accidents than people who are born with something.
True.
It's like, if a person lost their legs in a war, people are all of a sudden very, cordial to them.
No.
If you just were born without legs, people are like, why do I care? Because people are awful. Humans in general are awful. And if I think that there's one thing that comic books got right, it's maybe that. On an individual level, humans are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But taken as an aggregate whole, they're pretty scummy. That's my hot take, Phil. But anyway, so Boom Boom's in Secret X-Men.
Yes.
Secret X-Men, as if there were a war that was also secret.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. And they never had a Boom Boom Beyonder reunion. Because that's the thing. Like, the one time that they actually do a thing, it's literally just Boom Boom's calling out to the Beyonder. Because he says, I'm always listening. You ever call out to me, I'll be there. Now, of course, like the one time she does it, all the heroes show up and they punch him. And she runs away because she feels like she can never do that again because, oh my gosh, I betrayed the Beyonder. But the Beyonder is the Beyonder. And I bet you if she ever actually called out to the Beyonder again and said, Frank, I really need your help, I would love for him to just show up. Just have the Beyonder show up and be like, yeah, here I am. Did you read Secret X-Men this week, Phil?
Yes, I did.
Or was that last week?
No, it was this week, yeah.
Yeah, I don't trust those Grand Viziers, the precogs who see all of it. Oh, you need to do this and you need to do that, fair Empress. Why don't you wipe everybody's mind so they don't remember what just happened?
Well, of course, it's the daughter of Charles Xavier. It's like, of course, we're gonna. Hey, let's just wipe their mind.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, could we have her like maybe second guess it? Like maybe not be so easy, not be so clearly easily manipulated by these people with who. And here's the thing, because this is sort of the Moira McTarget thing, where she doesn't really have knowledge of the future, But when she comes to them and shows that she has all this secret knowledge, everyone just assumes she knows what she's talking about. And really, these precogs don't really have secret future knowledge. But because they have some knowledge that you didn't know, you start to overemphasize the worth of their advice. And I get the feeling that these are two precogs who said, you know what? This is Xavier's kid. Xavier's kind of an idiot. Chances are his kid's an idiot. But super powerful. And I bet you if we ingratiate ourselves and don't tell her what we don't want her to know, we could really put ourselves in a good position here. Now that we got a child empress to manipulate, which is always what the Grand Vizier wants, a nice child ruler that they can put in front and manipulate and torment and control until everything ends poorly. So that's my big prediction there. I did love having Boom Boom in this. I love having Roberto back in this. That was great. Him and Sam are always a fun pair of late, and we get Banshee too, which is fun, you know.
Oh yeah, okay. Guido
Somehow his shouts move in the vacuum of space, but we'll allow it.
Well, I took that as like he said. Didn't he take a deep breath before he leaped out of the thing? So was it like, oh, I'm gonna have like 1 or 2 seconds of air in my lungs? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll allow it.
Yeah,
because presumably it's not really an actual scream; it's some kind of weird psychic cosmic energy scream.
yeah.
But you know,
because even if it I guess if it dies as soon as it leaves his mouth, maybe just the force of it. I don't.
There's a lot going on, Phil. We're not going to dissect it too much, but
yeah.
I enjoyed the book. It was fun.
Oh my god, I saw the best joke online this week because when they put on those uniforms with the X on them, somebody was like, "Oh yes, the reason why originally Charles Xavier put his students in uniforms with an X on them is so hopefully they would get shot and not him."
Well, it's the Robin paradox, obviously. Yes. I'm just looking at the books I have here because we do have a few here. But yeah, I mean, the Beyond Corporation isn't everything. The Beyonder is coming back. I absolutely feel that. I absolutely feel that there is something that is going on in Marvel where they want to reintegrate a grand unified theory of the Beyonder. And I think the grand unified theory of the Beyonder is going to be that there is a Beyond. And the Beyond is beyond all things. But that because there is one Beyond, there is also a million universes that it is beyond of. And in those million universes, that is where there are a million Beyonders. Which is pretty much what I've always said, but you know.
So what was your theory? Is he behind the Beyond Corporation?
Well, so the original theory is that the Beyonder in 616 is what they call the juvenile Beyonder, the first Beyonder. But that all the other Beyonders are also that same Beyonder because it's like the Q. There's one Q, but the Q manifests as many because they are the Q and the Q is one Q. And every Q has been the Scarecrow and has been the guy on the porch. And, you know, we've all done it, man. Through all eternity, every being in the continuum is in the continuum. And they are all beyond because once they touched fractured space, and that's the idea, that's my personal theory, is that there is the continuum of the beyond that is always beyond and always has been the beyond. But once something happened with the Molecule Man and it touched fractured space, suddenly the beyond became just as fractured as space. Because in the beyond there is no time. The beyond is like limbo. There is no time, there is no space, there is only the beyond. But and it is the idea of all of reality as a single moment. So in the idea that time is the phenomenon that prevents everything from happening at once, and space is the phenomenon that keeps everything from being in one spot. The beyond is a place that lacks both time and space. All time is one and all space is one, and so there is no difference in the beyond. And so the Beyond Corporation is an organization that was in some way associated with the Beyonders. And in being associated with the Beyonders, they existed as a as many points in space that were constantly reaching into the universe to try and understand what is fractured existence. And that is always what the Beyonders were trying to do. They were trying to understand what is it to be fractured. And then the final threat of the Beyonders was in attempting to destroy every universe until no fractured existence was left. But of course, fractured existence continued, which allowed Doom to effectively steal the power of the Beyonders to build his own fractured battle world. But in the end, there were still the energies of the Beyonder beyond. That the Beyond still existed because the fractured universe had it exist. And it's like the fractured universe always requires the Beyond to exist. And the Beyond cannot eliminate the fractured universe because the fractured universe will always push back against the single unity of the Beyond. And that's the wackiness that is the Beyonders. You know, and you can go through any number of things. You can have, was the Beyonder, you know, a cosmic cube that did not evolve, or a cosmic cube that did not have a cube to evolve into? Was the Beyonder an Inhuman who also had the X gene, who simply went into the Terrigen Mist and then disappeared? In fact, how often does that happen, Black Bolt? It's like, well, you know, I can't talk without killing you, so I not really a lot I can say. My wife isn't here because for some reason I did not think to bring the one person that knows what I'm saying into the Illuminati. And why are there no chicks in the Illuminati? Dude, don't make it a sausage fest.
Yeah.
Sue, Medusa, they all should have been there. Namora or Namorita, one of the other Atlanteans.
I mean, look at the MCU these days. I mean, you could have brought in Sharon Carter.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. But actually, they didn't have Nick Fury in it either, so.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think of the Red Goblin Queen?
That's interesting because they used Ashley Kafka's clone. Because I mean, Maxine Danger basically threatened her with the issue previously. It's like, we have things we can do with clones.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And they basically rewrote Ben Reilly's his whole moral center. It's just like,
yeah, they pulled a lot of strings when they pulled that one.
Yeah.
Although it's weird because this was last issue. Next issue we don't come back because it says to be continued, but we don't come back to it. Then we have a whole Stingers thing with the Beyond Corporation.
Well, yeah, all those point BEYs are kind of like kind of little sidetracks. So I think the next issue is the cover is the Queen Goblin fighting Black Cat. So
yeah. So anyway, there's that. Let's see here. Did we mention the Marvels? I think I mentioned it briefly. You know, because the Vision is back and we have all this, but we have this whole thing again tying into our Shi'ar thing is that a Shi'ar warrior came to Wakanda to do recon on Earth and fell in love as you do. Had a baby, stole the her dad went off to find where he went. That wound up in Seng Kong. And the heroes all have to bust out of Seng Kong, so that's fun. And they get to a door at the end, and that's the door you're not supposed to open, so of course they have to open it. So, is there a Beyonder beyond that door, Phil? I don't know. That's Marvel's number 8. So there's things happening there. One Star Squadron, just to get back to DC real quick. Basically, they put Red Tornado in charge of the here basically the Heroes for You app. Because the JLA is pulling their endorsement of the app. And they basically said no, because everyone hates you at your office, and we need someone that can be hated, because you're gonna have to make the tough decisions. By the way, fire Power Girl. She's been talking a lot of smack, which is also just like creepy corporate stuff to the nth degree in this. Like, that woman, she's talking on a turn. I don't know. I don't like that. They're strange people. Phil, did you read Maestro, World War M?
Yes, I did. Number 1, yep.
Let's talk this one real quick here. Because, again, this kind of feels like the issues that could have been solved much easier. I like how it opens up with Emil Blonsky, the Abomination, in his, like, tailored Russian, KGB suit, and the Maestro. And then, of course, Modoc shows up to him because he's basically living. He says, "Yeah, I know you're living in the Matrix, and yeah, a bunch of missiles are going to come and kill everybody." So there's that.
I think Abomination's like, why did he wake me up? I would have been happier in that, even if I die happy in that.
No, because I think it was like, it's probably not going to kill you, and if I can give you backstory, at least you'll know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I mean, literally, that's my take on it. Is like literally just you're going to need backstory because this simulation isn't going to go. Because he's going to blow us all up for some reason. And then we get the attack by the Atlanteans, and I like when they pull in the Human Torch to fight. Yeah, first of all, I love poor old Doom in a wheelchair, and just he's all mad because he's like all beaten up, and it's like, well, what did you expect? You went to go fight a Hulk. And I love that Namor has grown out his mustache.
Yes.
Which makes no sense in the ocean. The amount of product he must be using in his mustache in the ocean is just ridiculous. And I like the fact that the Human Torch can really do damage on the Hulk. It's actually pretty cool. Although this also seems to be a Human Torch that doesn't have real knowledge of where he's from. So I wonder about that. Is there a whole thing where we're not going to get Jim Hammond's backstory? But we also see, looks like we got the Hulk fighting a Dweller in the Darkness. So that's interesting for next issue.
But I mean, that whole thing with Jim Hammond was interesting because Namor had him in a tube. So I wonder if maybe he like cranked down his memories and cranked up his power level, maybe. Because that was the funny part when it, Maestro's like, Johnny Storm, is that you? And he's like, no, Johnny.
Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's also interesting in light of other things that have happened to Jim Hammond, things that have happened to Johnny Storm. Like, this is a future set universe. There's a lot to dissect here. Do you have a book from any point that we never talked about or that you want to talk about?
Let me look real quick, but I think between here and Capes, I might have talked everything I want to talk about. Okay, we talked Devil's Reign. Oh, you mentioned the whole Moira McTaggart thing.
Oh, what's she up to?
Well, you haven't been reading. Well, it's weird because I mean, we've been doing X Lives and X Deaths of Wolverine and X Lives of Wolverine, which comes out every other week. It's weird. I don't know if they've even explained how it's happening yet, but Omega Red's like jumping through time, all Quantum Leap style, trying to kill Professor X at different points in history. So of course they send Wolverine back to like try to stop him at each point. And then, but then, meanwhile, in X Deaths of Wolverine, they have the whole thing where Mystique is like trying to hunt down and kill Moira McTaggart, and at the end of the first X Deaths, like I guess part of Wolverine's mind is in like a I don't know if it's like an android or a robot or something, and I guess it's going to try to stop Mystique. So while he's jumping through time, part of his mind is in like a robot, or even or the way it closed. I don't know if it's like a part of like that Warlock or whatever. But yeah, it's just very
Is this
weird.
that version of Wolverine where he's got like the headset on and
Well, yeah,
where he's just
he
got
looks,
like all the Weapon X like
he,
Borg attachments?
yeah, he almost looks like all Tron style. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we've said it before when he appears in different books, but he's literally in two places at once right now. So
Yeah, well, that's how that works sometimes.
they're milking that.
So I do want to go into real quick on Shang Chi number 8,
Okay.
because this is the big reveal of the 10 Weapons Society, and we get the fact that the one mutant member who decided to stay seems like a turncoat, but she actually was part of the master plan all along, which is always cool. As they battle the various other beings, we have the Shang-Chi's grandfather, who is from Taolo, come back to, I guess, presumably rescue his daughter, but also to destroy Shang-Chi, because he is just as much of a jerk as the Mandarin, or not the Mandarin, but I forget what the name they're calling him now. I think it's Seitsu as opposed to Fu Manchu. But yeah. And then at the end, the grandfather takes the daughter back through the Taolao gates. So that's where we have to go next to find him and rescue mom. So that's exciting.
So it probably hasn't happened yet. I thought I saw an ad for I guess an upcoming Shang-Chi. Is he getting rings like he has in the movies now? I guess.
Probably. I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, it
Yeah, I
makes
thought I
sense
saw an
they
ad
would do
somewhere
that.
or something. Yeah, that they're like, oh, he's gonna have rings just like in the MCU.
Yeah, well, you have to catch it up.
Yeah.
Let's see what happened in the Star Trek Mirror Universe. They finally get to the planet that builds super cool starships. Data takes over their, Unimind, and then they're going to build a bunch of starships, basically. So they're going to have a fleet to destroy the universe. So, yay! Evil Captain Picard. He's going to take over the Empire, and I'm sure that will have no negative downstream consequences, even as we see Worf leading the Klingon Empire against him and the like. Let's see here. Did we talk the Thing last week?
I think we did. Yeah. Yeah, we did. Because
we did talk briefly. We went to the blue area of the moon. Yeah, that was cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know we had a very light. We went through everything real quick last week with Suicide Squad.
I was going to say, yeah, I have the list from last week. We talked all the Fantastic Four stuff, including the Thing and the Suicide Squad issue. Yeah.
Okay, then that's all my books, Philip. Anything else we want to talk about? We talked Thunderbolts. We talked the Beyonder. What do you think about the Beyonder? Is he coming back? Is he going? Do you think I'm a crazed fool on my soapbox saying the Beyonder is coming, you fools? Prepare, repent.
I'll have to do my homework because like the Beyond Corporation, it showed up in like previously. What was that like? Was that Mighty Avengers? One of those series.
Yeah, it was in the Mighty Avengers, and again, but in that situation, it was still tied to that Beyond universe.
Yeah, because it seemed like it was beings from like outside the Omniverse or something. So I mean,
the idea was, and this is the thing about Beyond.
Yeah.
And the Beyonders and the Beyond Corporation is that they are. Here's the thing. They're all enfants terrible. They are all Q. They are all the Square of Gothos. They are all causing problems. And they all seem to be weirdly obsessed with testing humanity. And this goes back to, our fifth dimensional creatures over at DC with Mixoplex and Batmite and several other characters. I know that, I know at one point, Aquaman, The Flash, and Wonder Woman all had fifth dimensional imps as well, or beings that were effectively their fifth dimensional imps that were causing them problems. And of course, in our current Stargirl, we have Johnny Thunderbolt, who also is a fifth dimensional imp, is a fifth dimensional being. Because the idea of being that fifth dimensional being that goes beyond the four dimensions of space, time, relative dimension, that being that exists in this other way of seeing the universe, comes and in one way or another alters reality to their whim. And this is an old comics trope. Like I said, this is a DC thing. This is Mixoplex. This is Batmite. And honestly, I really got to look into what the actual history of Batmite is. Because who he is now, I can't believe that's exactly what he started as just a fifth dimensional imp who just was totally into Batman. Although it's funny if it is, just the idea that just in the same way that Mixoplex is so obsessed with Superman, that Batmite is just so obsessed with Batman, but to the point of cosplay. I really want to see the Mixoplex and Batmite team up. Honestly, there has got to be some lore and story to be had in those two characters just dealing with stuff.
There was in the 90s, what was it? A Superman. Did you ever read the Superman Silver Surfer crossover? I believe it was Mxyzptlk and the Impossible Man.
Oh yeah, I know that they've dealt with those. They've suggested those two might have a relationship as well.
Oh yeah, there was an issue with Superman in the 90s. What was it, early 90s or late 80s? Yeah, where they show after he was done with Superman in a certain arc, he popped up somewhere else, and all they showed was blue boots, but they kind of hinted that in this other universe he was the Impossible Man.
Yeah. Well, that's there was the interesting idea of the Impossible Man, which is why I was very excited for Kamala Khan when they first introduced her, and the suggestion that she was a being with full control of her own molecules and her relative molecules, like the Impossible Man. That she could shapeshift, that she could grow and shrink, that her powers were nearly limitless. Now they've nerfed her. And now basically said, no, she just has stretchy powers. Except she can also shrink.
Yes.
So it's right there, you've already unlocked Pym particle technology as an organic nature of your existence. So long as she can embiggen and ensmallen, so long as she can actually, it's not just stretching her body, but it's actually becoming bigger and becoming smaller and doing these other things. Even if she is putting mental blocks on herself to not shapeshift. Because I absolutely believe that that's what they're doing. They're giving her they're giving her basically Franklin Richards disease, where it's so dangerous to you to realize how much power you have that you just choose to not let yourself have that power.
Or she's a teenage girl and she just has to over time discover how to do all this stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, except it's the thing that she already had discovered.
Yeah,
but I think it scared her. That's the idea. It's it scared her how powerful, sort of like Gwenpool. When she realized how powerful she could be, it scared her and she had to rewrite her own timeline. It's that idea that, what, I can see how the extrapolation of my power set makes me far too dangerous for the universe. In the same way that Franklin Richards, in many occasions in the future, has been the only time we've ever seen him truly had his ultimate self is literally, well, this was me at the end of all space and time. And then it didn't matter that I went back and fixed it. It didn't matter that I fixed it in post. Franklin Richards. So the idea of the ultimate infant terrible, which brings us right back to the Beyonder, who is our theme for tonight. It's throughout Marvel. It's throughout all comic books. The idea that there will be a being who is beyond just punching. Even when you punch it, it's beyond punching. It's not that you can just, punch it into non-existence. It's like, yeah, but it still exists because it'll always exist because there's an infinite universe. And the beyond is infinite even beyond the infinite universe. Just like if you kill one Mephisto, there'll be 7 more. These things aren't fungible. Mephistos always exist. Nightmare always exists. Just in the same way, in their own way, arguably, Stained Glass Scarlet will always exist. Khonshu will always exist. No matter how much their stories get watered down or changed, their stories will always exist because they are stories.
Mm-hmm.
And the Beyonder is the ultimate story. At least that's my take on it, Phil. All right, Philip. If anyone has another take on this idea, if they want to say I'm wrong, they want to say it to me in my own voice, or they just want to write us an email, how can they do so?
So, yeah, send your thoughts on anything. Just put, Marvel stuff, anything, comics, movies, TV. Email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. Remember, follow us on all the social medias, Superconnectivity, Capes and Lunatics, all the social medias for all the shows we do. Find links to those, links to our YouTube channel, links to our Patreon. Once again, we're out here on our own now, paying for this out of our own pockets, so every little bit helps. But you get early access to creator interviews, Mr. D.G. Chichester, and you get Patreon exclusive stuff like the superhero movie brackets, where we'll find the worst superhero movie. And you can also buy Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks merchandise. But all of that, the social medias, the Patreon, the YouTube, the merchandise, it's all at Linktree, linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics.
Very good. And by the way, if you do write to us, put Enfant Terrible in the subject line and we'll know what it's about. Likewise, if you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet the Naomi show, which is a slow burn, like so many shows nowadays, but that will come to a head soon with the reveal of Superboy Prime, who basically is the true villain of the series. At Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle. For what?
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to us for another week. We've really enjoyed talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed listening to us. Why don't you come back again next week and super connect with us again. Good night.
Good night.
And Tristan's back from his party.
Oh, nice.
Hey, buddy.
He's a good guest. Doesn't overstay.
You had fun? Okay. Nothing. Just, we're glad you're back, buddy. I'm glad you had fun.
So,
Tristan had his friend's birthday party this week.
Join us next week and beyond.
Oh, always beyond.